house.
And it's 6:59.
Chief, we have a presentation there, right? I was going to say, think that I'd be able to test our record if we have a staff that's going.
So this week I had 2 electric cords catch on fire. It was pretty exciting.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, my hair dryer literally burst in flames, and then my Mac Pro laptop, the wires finally they started sparking, and they actually started to catch fire. So luckily I was there. Oh wow! Is the universe trying to tell me something?
Well, do you have dogs or cats that eat the wires?
Oh, it's just they were just worn out. I mean, I have dogs, but
well, your hair doesn't.
In this case.
Your hair doesn't look like the kind that would normally cause the hair dryer to fire.
Why, thank you, Jack. Doesn't take very long, but you know, I tell you what.
It does look like it was cut today.
Well, I just, you know, I trimmed it myself. Let's put it that way. It's kind of a hideous option that we're stuck with, right? Oh my gosh, I tell you.
I think we can get started. It's 7 o'clock. Belabor this. You go, Kristen? Awesome. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular virtual meeting for me. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to make sure that your electronic devices other than your computer are muted. And I will ask Trustee Dearborn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, visible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, item number 3, quorum. Rob, would you like to go ahead and check quorum for the upcoming meetings?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. We're looking at the meetings of June 2nd, 9th, and 16th. We'll see how the items may be ready for these meetings, but is everybody available for those 3 dates?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. If you have a conflict, let us know. Thank you.
All good. Awesome. Okay. Item number 4, public comment. This is the time of the evening where I guess we will read any emails or other comments that have come in that have been directed to Village Council. So, Rob, do we have any emails this evening?
Kristen, go ahead.
We did not receive any public comments for this meeting.
Okay. Okay, something missing here, I feel like.
Are the emails that are sent to the council in general about the outdoor seating considered part of the public comment?
No.
I will be circulating a package to all of us from the many, many emails I've received from merchants in town relative to Governor Pritzker's 5-point plan and the impact on their business. You can be looking for those probably Thursday, Friday in your inbox. I'll ask Kristen to package them all up into one tidy email. I was going to start forwarding them, but then you guys just have a mess of them to dig through. So we'll try to consolidate them and get them all out at one time. But there's a substantial volume coming in of people sharing their personal stories with how this is impacting them. So certainly I think it's important that we all see that.
Chris, do we need to respond to those, Chris?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
At this point, I mean, you know, they're just more background information and food or fuel for a future open conversation.
Okay.
That's all we
Yep.
I'll just ask for a raise of hand. Do any trustees have reports they would like to give this evening? Okay, village manager?
I have a brief report. As I think the council knows, staff has been pretty busy Thursday through Sunday. Thursday began with a rain event that resulted in about 3.2 inches of rain with a very heavy downpour right after midnight, which resulted in crews coming out and deploying pumps and responding to calls for services. Friday at 4 o'clock, we had a 16-inch water main break on Willow Road right by the reservoir in Public Works, which is one of the supply lines to Northfield. Village crews responded at 4 o'clock and worked 15 hours to put that Humpty Dumpty back together. It's working well, and pressure and water quality is good. And then Sunday, early in the morning, it started raining. It lasted for about 18 to 19 hours. Another 3+ inches of rain came down, and as President Rintz had mentioned, around 7 o'clock, we really had a heavy downpour. Started to really test the system, but then it subsided. Steve Saunders is packaging up a summary report that I will send to the council. You can get a sense for the number of service calls. We had for basement flooding, we had about 13 calls that I can tell at this point, or other calls for, road closures and things like that.
Rob, do you want reports? Do you want people to report basement flooding?
So not everybody floods for the same reason. A lot of the calls that we had this time, Trustee Lampier, from what I can tell at this point, were some pumps reaching capacity or filling. We had fewer sanitary calls than what we've had in the past, and I would attribute some of that to the improvements that we've made over the last several years. But if it's something substantive that, for example, if a resident needs assistance from engineering, certainly send it to us. We have a list of contractors that do work. If it's something related to the village system, if they had concerns about, certainly send it our way.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yep.
Anything else, Rob?
That's everything. Thank you.
Village attorney?
No report tonight.
And village president, just one item of business. Earlier today, a letter was sent to Laura Murphy, the state senator for Illinois District 28. It was signed by a multitude of mayors and managers, organizations, Northwest Municipal Conference, Barrington Area Council of Governments, DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, Lake County Municipal League, the McHenry Council of Governments, Metropolitan Mayors Caucus, the Metro West Council of Government, South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association, the Southwest Conference of Mayors, and the West Central Municipal Conference, all requesting that the government be made aware that we are in need of paying through money from the CARES Act. As you know, late last week, the local governments and county governments were threatened with withholding funds passed through from the state if they were to run afoul of the governor's executive order. The good news is that today in his press conference, he seemed to be softened a little bit just in overall on his 5-point plan, and seemed to be at least willing to open his mind to a lot of the comments that are coming through. But it's a pretty powerful letter sent by really every community in the metro area. So, the Northwest Municipal Conference, our representative, is doing a really good job of organizing and sharing the thoughts that are bubbling up from all the different communities. And if there's any good news on this, we're all very like-minded in how we're looking at this thing for the most part. And hopefully our voices will be heard in Springfield, and the money will start flowing because we could all use it. That's my report. So item number 4, Village Green Flag Request, Memorial Day observance. Our Memorial Day parade and observance have been canceled this year. The Craig family has a proposal to honor Winnebago's fallen soldiers following following social distance guidelines. And I'd like to turn it over to Andy to give us a run through.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. As you know, we have a lot of flags because of the September 11th tradition. And in light of the cancellation, we thought I plant a flag for each of Winnebago's fallen soldiers. We'll figure out the exact layout, probably 6 feet apart. We'll put the word out to the grade school kids too, if they want to make pictures, posters, whatever, and lay them at the flags. They can do that, and I have my own work over here, so we can be close to each other, and we'll pick it up and clean it up at the end of the day. So we'll put the flags out before sunrise Memorial Day and take them down after sun.
That's an idea.
Really lovely. Thanks so much.
Do we have any public comments on this, Kristen?
We do not.
Okay, guys, you can weigh in.
I think it's wonderful.
I think it's great.
Yep. And thanks for doing it.
Andy, your family has been great about this. Are you guys gonna segregate it by, different military actions, by World War I and World War II?
Yeah, we thought about that. We'll see how it kind of looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a nice idea. I mean, it's a shame that there won't be recognitions. That's a really nice thing to do.
Do we know if the Winnetka Park District is going to try to do a virtual?
Yeah, we've been working with the Park District, and they will be doing a virtual remembrance. And that video or that virtual presentation will be shared not only on the Park District website, but also on the village website, and we'll include it in our communications.
Great.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Great. That's a really nice.
Andy, how many fallen soldiers do we have?
I think there was like 88 or so.
Might be 94.
Yeah, that sounds. It's an even number. It's
Yeah.
right around there.
Okay, great.
Is there any type of, you don't have any music? Andy, come on, man. Little taps or something? I got a horn, I got a trumpet I can figure out.
Well, everybody in my house plays guitar. Maybe you could have someone with an electric guitar.
I love it. I love it.
That's the sort of thing that really makes Winnetka Winnetka. It's the little points and the connections in this community. They were small enough to do something like that and really have it matter, and to have support of the community on that. Good stuff. Thank you so much for thinking about it, Andy. I had pretty much written off the whole day as just a day off, and it really is nice to make sure that even in this crazy time, who knows whether it's 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, right? I mean, we still will continue to mark the important days that make the whole country what they are. So I really appreciate the effort and the thought.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, well, that being said, may I have a motion to permit the placement of American flags on the village green to honor the Winnetkans who gave their life in the service to their country, as laid out in Trustee Kripe's letter?
So moved. Second.
Call vote.
Trustee Lampier,
Yep.
Trustee Apatow,
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes?
Trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
Trustee Swerk.
Yes. Motion carries, thank you. Okay, item 7, approval of the agenda. Does any trustee wish to move an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? None. May I have a motion to approve the final form of the agenda?
Second.
Vote.
Trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
Trustee Swerk.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Trustee
Yes.
Swerk? Yeah, okay. Trustee Dearborn,
Yes?
Trustee Apatow,
Yes.
Trustee Lampier.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Item 8 is the consent agenda, and I'll ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approve the village council meeting minutes from May 12, 2020. Approve the warrant list dated May 1st through the 14th, 2020, in the amount of $410,770.34. Resolution number R40, 2020, the 2020 sewer reline program for adoption, and resolution number R41, 2020 contract for sanitary sewer inspection services, also for adoption.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Call vote.
Collard. Craig.
Yes.
Trustee Swerk.
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes?
Trustee Apatoff.
Yes.
Trustee Lampier.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 9, ordinances and resolutions. A, number R9 2020, line clearance contract. This year's line clearance bids came back higher than usual. Respondent has never worked in Winnetka before. The water and electric director, and where'd he go?
He's there.
Here's some, oh, there he is. Hi, Brian.
Good evening, sir.
Review his recommendations for awarding the work. Brian, go ahead and take it away.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me virtually from the Village Yards. So tonight I'd like to discuss the contract award for the line clearance work. The Water and Electric Department performs this work on an annual basis. The prior contract, we came off a 3-year agreement with Asplin Tree Expert Company that ended in March of 2020. And the budget for this year for the electric fund does contain $180,000 of funding. I will note that this funding was not proposed for a deferral or a reduction in the council's discussions last week amid the COVID-19 discussion. So this was not submitted for any reduction. We started the bid process in December of 2019. We issued a line clearance bid. We sent documents out to multiple contractors and posted it to the online bidding service. The contract format was set up such that similar to what we'd used previously, where contractors provided hourly rates for both different members of the crew and equipment for normal straight time after hours and for a 3-year period. So years, potentially a year 2 and a year 3 solely at the village's discretion. The bid due date arrived, and we received no bids at all on that January 6th date. With the assistance of the finance department, it was extended to the 29th. On January 29th, we received 3 responses: Asplin Tree Expert, Nels Johnson, and Advanced True. Indicated in Village introductory remarks, 2 of the companies, Nels Johnson and Asplin, both performed this work for the village in the past. With respect to line clearance, we have not used it, to my knowledge, in them, and definitely not in my tenure. Advanced Tree has not performed the work or given any indication that they had done such line clearance work. There's a lengthy bid tab that starts on page 72 of your packet. It does contain, it shows not only for your reference what the bids were this year. I did provide a reference to the last contract period with Asplin. As noted in the introductory remarks, the bid analysis did reveal a very significant increase in our unit pricing. In the previous contract, the typical crew, which is a crew leader, a chairman, or groupman with the related equipment, was $177.58 an hour, and the low bid by Asplin was 40% higher at $250.61, and the next one was Nels Johnson at $286 an hour. Asplin provided pricing for 3 years, but the contractor took some exception to our standard contract language. Specifically, they did not want to have the year 2 and year 3 option solely at the village's discretion, but sought to have it done as a mutual decision. They requested changes in contract language on indemnification and holiday rates, verification on tree removals, and workers' compensation. I spoke with Asplin and asked about, this position, and then they did cite someone. This was before, some of this was before the pandemic, obviously, and they cited some labor contract terms coming to term in their that they'd be dealing with, and uncertainty is related to that, and was unwillingness to commit to a 3-year period, having the option to potentially step out if they felt the need to. Also spoke with Nels Johnson and found it unique that they would place the same hourly rate on every position of the crew. Decided that due to the nature of the working around power lines, they were using your staff, which is not necessarily a bad position to take, but also makes it a situation where we would occasionally going to be adding additional staff members for flagging, such as Willow Road, Hill Road, and Sheridan Road, now we're gonna have individuals at a much higher rate to do flagging work than, say, the other two companies bid. And finally, Advanced Tree submitted a bid. I don't have experience with them with respect to line clearance. They did propose a higher crew makeup, but didn't propose adding additional trucks, so I didn't see the economics that merited further discussion or investigation. So with assistance from the village attorney's office, we spent time talking to Asplin, and specifically we reached agreement with Asplin on the contract document that's shown as Exhibit A. There was changes in the indemnification language, which basically, if I understand it correctly, took it from sole negligence to proportionate negligence. We did make it so the language was such that there would be mutual consideration of years 2 and 3, such that either parties would have to agree before it would be in a situation where we'd go on to year 2 and year 3. And it should be used up during a holiday event that the double time would apply, which was not clarified in our current contract document. Staff is recommending acceptance of the year 1 pricing as submitted to Asplin. Results in the lowest cost increase for work I view as critical in maintaining system reliability. Asplin had been performing for several years. They've done a good job. We've had no safety issues. They work good with staff, including the village forester. Trustee Airborne reached out to me earlier today, and I'm going to add some additional comments for clarification. I thought he asked some very good clarifying questions that might help understand how I act in the cycle I'm trying to achieve. Generally, for the budgeted amount of work, what I do is I route the contractor to begin its scheduled normal workout days, and we start a rotation through the village. My targeted cycle is to reach through the village at about 1.25 to 1.5, so about every year and a half, get through every circuit. That's a little more, say, assertive than some of my peers that would run a 3 to 5 year cycle. And the logic for running that cycle is I'm taking less out of the trees. So if you've been through a ComEd neighborhood, no offense to the neighboring IOU, they're much more aggressively trimming trees. So because they're trying to go through on a periodic basis or a longer time period. I generally spend nearly all the funds every year that's allotted to the budget, and I typically withhold $3,000 to $5,000 at the end, and then shut the contractor off from their normal workday work. The rationale for that is that I still have under contract and the village council's authority for an additional $3,000 to $5,000 within the budgeted amount. So if I need to bring them in after hours or for a storm event on a weekend, I can do that under the approval that the village council has granted to me. So with that, I would be planning to execute on the entire $180,000 to work with the probably holding back $2,000 to $5,000 for storm work. I'm not currently asking for any additional funding. This will probably change what I attempt to fund for the next fiscal year, and we'll change our tree trimming cycle from that 1.25 to 1.5 to closer to a 2-year cycle. The resolution prepared with the assistance of the village council would waive the bidding, authorizes the village president and the village manager to execute a final agreement with Asplin. I'd be happy to answer any other questions I didn't incorporate my reporter from Trustee Dearborn's remarks.
Questions for Brian?
Yeah, Brian, I called Bob this afternoon to see if he had talked to you, so I didn't have to bother you. I knew you were plenty busy. So he answered my questions that he had asked of you. I do have one question, though, about the why the costs that came in were so much higher. Is it because we were on a 3-year contract with them before, right? So in the 3-year period, the cost, labor cost, than we had anticipated?
2 things I think happened. So they actually, if you may recall, about 2 years ago, Asplin expressed some concern that they weren't real happy what they had entered into, which was a 3-year agreement. So conceivably, they bid this 3.5 years ago.
Right.
And pricing was changed. And then secondly, I think they've had a favorable relationship with the investor-owned utility around us, and picked up work.
Got it.
Can you explain that?
More work than
Can you explain a little bit more? Favorable relationship?
It's my understanding that Exelon had split their line fence work, that there's been some contract changes for Asplin may have a bigger share of that work.
How would that affect us?
Well, they have all their crews fully utilized, and we're only showing up with a $180,000 contract. There's less incentive for them to be competitively
And there just aren't that many firms out there that
Yeah.
do this?
There's a lot of tree contractors, but there's not a lot of contractors that want to work around energized power line.
Imagine that.
So, yeah, that to me, this is Rob, are you done?
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, as long as, because I agree with the theory that we need to trim often so that we don't get big whacks out of the tree, because it looks awful, and it really gets people upset. So I just want to be sure, as we're trying to balance everything, that we're getting the proper cycle in, getting the work done that needs to be done. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
That was my question about the cycles. Why clearly I've been through some neighborhoods where I've seen the tree whacking where it's just it's down to the nubs. I don't think you have to do that, but I wonder if there's a middle ground. I have a barber that charges me $19 and he retired, and I have one that charges me $50 now a haircut, and I get my haircut a lot shorter now with a $50 person.
You should do that. You should definitely do that.
You got your haircut.
I guess that's my thought is, I don't want to wait 3 years, but I guess my question is, can we be a little more aggressive? Obviously, I'm a penny. I want to make this look like a hatchet job. This is a real substantial increase for these guys. So I didn't know if there's a middle ground where we can do a 2-year trim and still make it look right.
This will be staying. Current funding will end up at a 2-year cycle, and we'll probably still have to increase a little bit next year to go to the 2-year cycle. So the balancing act will really come with, in September, I have no idea how far they're getting, and then we'll have to increase over the 1B to get to to stay at a 2-year cycle. So I'm projecting right now that this will put us at a 2-year cycle, and if we accept their year 2 prices, they go up some. So then we'd have to, in theory, be a little higher than 180 next year to stay at a 2-year cycle.
Hey, Brian, a question for you. How long ago did we go to third party doing this rather than the village?
I don't have a good answer for you on that. I started in 2007, and it was my understanding it had been that way for a long time. Previous to my, like I said, Nels Johnson was doing it at that point in time in 2007. So I don't know how much earlier than that. It's at one point in time we had line clearance because photo of like vehicles from the 70s is what I guess fittings was, and which actually elected to disband the line clearance group.
Do many villages or cities do their own line clearance anymore, or is it all contracted out?
All the ones that I am familiar with around us, so like St. Charles, Naperville, Rock Falls, they're all contracted out. 2 of those 3 use Esplin themselves as well.
What about Glencoe or Wilmette or Kenilworth?
Edison.
They're all ComEd, so they're whoever ComEd hires.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would add that, doing trimming around the lines is one specified scope of work, regular tree trimming, a different type. Based upon the experience I've seen, municipalities really in earnest for the contract of this service 80s and early 90s. As the industry started to grow and municipalities were looking for ways to not have that service done in-house. So it's been, from my experience, it's been that way for some time.
Is there any? I'm just curious. Is this cost effective? Is it just we're used to it? To have done by third parties. I understand there's liability. There's all sorts of stuff like that. But
So I used to do work for one of the big tree trimming companies, not Asplin, and what I learned from that experience is it's extremely dangerous. The liability costs are massive, and I think the reason for the shift to these very large companies is because the only way you can get insurance effectively for this work is to be so big you're self-insured. I mean, I don't know if Nelson Johnson is that way, but my impression was always that it was liability driven.
The other thing, I think it's a good point, Andy, and the other thing to remember is that just to sustain 2 people for a year is more than 180 grand when you figure in, payroll taxes and pension costs, so, it would be really difficult, I think. I mean, it would be less cost effective, obviously, with the specialized equipment and having to make those capital investments, and anything more than a 2-man crew, and actually, we'd still be more expensive at the end of the day.
I'm just bothered by the jump in price, from 177 to 252, and then they don't want a contract. I mean, so anyway.
But I think, I'm not happy with that jump, but I think what we have to recognize is we went to the marketplace and that we didn't get I don't feel that I can go back out, rebid it, and come back and get you a better answer from the cost. I'm not happy with it either, but I think, I don't see that I'm gonna be able to get you a lower unit cost by rebidding this.
You think
Next year, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, and again, keep in mind that the 177 was basically a cost 3.5 years ago. So, and next year things could be completely different.
No, I was just thinking like the market is now. The gas prices are, a fraction of what they were when they were being bid out, and it's possible they may be looking for work. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
My sense with respect to Asplin is they've got plenty of work from Exelon.
Yeah.
This sounds like a supply-demand
Right.
thing to me. Brian, I think the challenge you're gonna have, and, we all have confidence in you, and you'll make this work, but the challenge you're gonna have is, you're getting a third less, tree trimming, than you would have had last year. And, do you suspect that, that's gonna run into a situation where you'll be back to us in September needing some additional monies or not?
I'm hoping to avoid that discussion in light of the current financial situation we discussed last week with the council. I think the short-term strategy would be is that if we have to, we'll switch from the programmatic to basically what's called hotspot trimming. So we'll have them go down, we'll go over sections of line that we're and target stuff that's really close to the lines, and basically a triage approach to get through what we to make up the difference.
I think that makes sense. I just had one other comment, which is that it seems like with Commonwealth Edison, we're getting to be a smaller player. I guess my question is, do we ever consider leveraging the other villages, so using these guys, and have 5 villages band together and say, all right, we're now a lot more money. We're now $1 million or $1.5 million bid. Because right now, as an individual player, we're not getting anything out of it. No leverage.
The thing is that the other villages are paying for it.
Well, the other
paid for by Edison.
are in the metro area.
So Edison is the one paying the bills, not Glencoe or Glenview or Northfield.
Meant the other municipal.
Oh, I can see, but maybe. Brian.
We could potentially do a joint bid. Naperville has been receptive to considering those things. They're trying different bid strategies this year where they're bidding a unit price for the whole circuit. St. Charles has got a local company that they've had forever, so they had desired to play on a global base for rock boat. Rock Falls has an Asplin foreman and 2 Asplin employees that live in Rock Falls, so they've gotten some pretty preferential treatment. And I don't know if they have any desire to change that situation that seems very favorable to their local situation. And unfortunately, we're, even with Naperville, if we can look at doing, I'm not opposed to trying to see if Naperville wants to do something for the next contract term. I'm not sure how their sourcing strategy is going to work. It's from a novelty concept to a circuit by circuit cost. Some I'm willing to look at. And they have been receptive to considering, discussing like a joint approach. So we could look at that in the future. I don't think Rock Falls or St. Charles is going to want to do anything different than they're currently doing.
Because I kind of think Naperville is a very big city, so they have a lot more Clint or Pool or whatever.
Naperville's a lot bigger, but they also have, they were very, assertive in undergrounding their system.
They also might go on a 3 to 4 year cycle or whatever. I mean, part of this is that Winnetka, you know, we like our trees trimmed, you know, like Rob's haircut, just a little bit off the top. You know? And, you know, if you want to go to a 3 or 4 year, I'm sure Brian, better contract, man. It's, you know, that's probably a subject to be discussed in my guess is that Brian, there's no one on this more than Brian was disappointed with that contract. And my guess is he's going to be thinking about how to, you know, do it better, you know, get a better contract going forward.
Yeah, and I guess, do we do a shorter term contract, a 1 or 2 year contract, and just go out aggressively and bid? You know,
So correct, so basically, with your, if you would consider this tonight, it'd be a 1 year contract, the village and Asplin would have to agree, and it would have to come back to you for consideration in the second year. And so we would have to make a decision at the end of one, if we want to entertain, got out of Asplin as a year 2, and if they want to stay at the table, or if we would, either party, the park company, we rebid.
Can we rebid it before we decide for next year's contract?
We could conceivably do that, but I think that would tip our hand to the incumbent vendor, and we may end up with a different result, because they could elect to walk and bid higher.
Got it.
Be careful, yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question for Peter.
Yes, sir. This concept of proportional negligence, I've not heard of this before.
Yeah, it really, they just tweak this language. It basically says our indemnification is our indemnification, except to the extent that the claim or damage is caused by our negligence. So if there was ever a claim and they said, you know what, this wasn't all our fault, some of it was your fault, and we actually went ahead and had a trial or litigation over it, the judge would portion it out, and we would not be indemnified for the extent of the damages that were caused by our negligence.
Oh, it really is. It's a two-provider. It's not, or could it be 4 potential people participating in the claim, or I guess I've never heard of proportional negligence. You're either
It's usually, yeah, it's usually called comparative negligence. It's not unusual. I mean, we always try to get negligence or indemnification where it's 100%, and we get it in a lot, as Brian knows. Sometimes they push back, and, you know, but sometimes they push back and say, we're not indemnifying you if any part of it is caused by your negligence. And we say no to that. But if we've done wrong, and it causes it, the other thing is, we're gonna have defenses because we're immune basically from negligence claims. So they can put that in the indemnification. If it push comes to shove, we're gonna have arguments that really doesn't help them much.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Any other
Peter.
questions? Okay, are there any public comments on this issue?
No public comment.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. All right, no more conversation. I would like to ask for a motion to adopt resolution number R39, 2020.
Second.
Call vote?
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes?
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow? Trustee Lampier?
Yes?
Trustee Swart?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Maladarchi?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, moving along, item 10, old business, there is none. Item number 11, new business, there is none. Item 12, motion to extend village president's declaration of emergency. Village Attorney Peter Friedman will review another extension of Winnetka's emergency declaration.
As you know, the village president issued an emergency declaration. And the village council amended the village code to authorize the president to make an emergency declaration. However, the emergency declaration is not open-ended. The council sets how long it can go for. And originally, was set 7 days or until the next council meeting adjourn, whichever is longer. And so that is always the next council meeting, since we only meet once every 2 weeks approximately. So the current proclamation will expire without action of the council at the adjournment of tonight's meeting. So if everyone is comfortable, the appropriate thing to extend it would be a simple motion to extend the declaration until the adjournment of the next council meeting.
Any questions?
I think this would be you've already extended it 2 or 3 times, so this would just be an additional extension.
Do we have any issue pending based on that Clay County lawsuit along with the legislator?
Yeah. No, in fact, there was a TRO entered in that. It was only with regard to him, and he withdrew that case and filed an amended complaint. So currently, there is no TRO entered in that case.
And is there any chance that the amended complaint will affect us? The outcome?
Is there a chance? Yes. And theoretically, the judge could enter a statewide TRO, and that could get upheld at the appellate or Illinois Supreme Court level. But we're a ways away from that happening.
So the effect would be the same at local versus state executive order?
Yeah, well, I mean, what he's challenging is the governor's authority to issue successive disaster declarations. Those disaster declarations are what trigger our authority or the local authority to have emergency proclamations. So theoretically, if a court said that his disaster declarations are invalid, then it starts to have a domino effect. It would start to have a domino effect. Yep.
Anybody else?
I'd be happy to make the motion. I don't have it memorized yet, but I do have it.
I have a question regarding the duration of the declaration of emergency.
It would be a motion to extend the president's proclamation of emergency until the adjournment of the next council meeting. You could say so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Who had the second? I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Crowe.
Yes.
Trustee Lampier.
Yes.
Trustee Lampier.
Yes.
Trustee Caladarchi.
Yes.
Trustee Swerk.
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn. Trustee App.
Yes. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. 2-week run here. Thank
Crazy.
All right, item 12, question, there is none. And item 13, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Call vote?
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
Trustee Kripe.
Yes.
Trustee Kripe.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Caladarchi.
Yeah.
Trustee Swerk.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Yes.
Trustee Lampier.
Yes.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thanks a lot, everybody. Good
Thanks
seeing
for
you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
And Bob, please express to the Public Works and Water Electric, thanks for everything.
Well,
It's been,
thank you.
yeah.